Churchtown isn't exactly a town, it's barely a village. It's more of a corner suffering from hyperbole, to be honest. It does have a church though, and an old one at that. St. Helen's, named after the Emperor Constantine's mother in the 5th century, and probably attended by her as well. The locals call it the Cathedral of the Fylde, although it's as much a cathedral as Churchtown is a town. We like churches in Lancashire Footnotes, not because we're on some sort of religious crusade to re-establish the bad old times, but because they tend to be the clots in the veins of history, the confluences, where the fatbergs of bygone eras accumulate. For example, the vestry at St. Helen's was imported from Cockasand Abbey shortly after the dissolution of the monasteries, and so inexpertly added to the building that the joins are still clearly visible. As far as St. Helen's goes, the vestry's a modern extension. The graveyard's the big giveaway. Oval graveyards are generally prehistoric, especially when cradled in 2 branches of a river, as St. Helen's was until 1746, when the Wyre was diverted to stop it undermining the foundations. Against the exterior leans a Cairo cross, referred to in the church's guidebook as a medieval gravestone belonging to somebody with the initials AB. It isn't, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have mentioned it. The A and B are actually Alpha and Omega symbols. Carved Kairos are rare. There are only 3 in the west of England. There's another in North Wales, 4 more in southwest Scotland, and 1 on the Isle of Man. We call it the Cairo Circle because, well, it sounds enigmatic. The last time a Cairo was dug out of the ground, it was discovered to have an epitaph to a Roman soldier written across its base. Legend has it that the Emperor Constantine himself designed the Cairo in the 4th century AD. His mum, after whom, as we mentioned a few moments ago, the church is named, was allegedly a humble innkeeper's daughter. It was Constantine who made Christianity the official religion of Rome, bringing the Gospels together and establishing Rome as the head of the church. Not that he wasn't against murdering a few Christians himself. God sends us plagues, presumably so that the church authorities can stop us atheists from exploring the churches proper. During the making of this film, our progress was hampered by a rope, preventing us from getting any footage of the historic artifacts within the building. Fortunately, the last time we were here, before all this plague nonsense, Jules took quite a lot of photographs, so inside then lies a carved stone figure described by the previously mentioned guidebook as possibly a tombstone of a Norman knight. Look closely, however, and you'll notice that the feet haven't worn away, but were never there in the first place. Carved bones can be seen sticking out of the stumps. According to the 4th century historian Eusebius, early Christian martyrs often had their feet hacked off. It was one of Constantine's favourite pastimes before he got converted on his deathbed. Helen, Constantine and Eusebius all appear in the pre-Raphaelite window in the Lady Chapel. It was Helen who set out to recover the true cross of Christ. Amazingly, some might say a bit too amazingly considering the time lapse involved, she actually found it. It ended up in the Vatican where, in more recent times, archaeologists examined the fragments and discovered that they dated to the right period. This doesn't, of course, mean that it was the actual cross. However, it does narrow the chances down to less than 1,000,000 to 1 against. Other fragments of the true cross crop up all over the world. It's been reckoned that if they were all glued together, then Jesus must have been crucified on something approaching the size of a redwood tree. We've already mentioned that we like old churches. History tends to stick to them like blue bottles to jam, and Every historic period can be found at St Helens. There's a sundial from 1757, gravestones going back to the 15th century, gargoyles, proper ones that act as downspouts, holding their mouths open with clumsy hands, drunken stone columns from the 1300s with stiff-leaf capitals, buckled beneath the weight of age, medieval window stops, peeling wall paintings admonishing stern warnings, an ancient piscina, the grave of a plague victim, a Saxon crossbase, a leper's squint where those riddled with the disease could watch the communion without leaving bits of themselves behind on the pews, a cuddly toy, and the weather-worn remnants of the butler coat of arms carved into the graveyard wall. Outside the church is the rest of Churchtown for what it's worth, with its tithe barn, its Jacobean market cross, and the punch bowl, a pub nowadays mostly concealed behind a Zimmer frame of scaffolding. There was the Crap stone too, once. Unlike the church, it didn't survive, possibly because of its supernatural properties, or possibly because of its name. Our old friend Neil Thompson, who now lies beneath the churchyard himself, once told us that it lay in a field behind St Helens. Henry Fishwick mentioned it in his History of Garstang. Crap, by this name, from time immemorial, has been designated a large boulder, which lies in a field about half a mile from parish church. One tradition says it turns round every time church bells ring, whilst another adds that it was thrown from church tower to its present site, which is haunted. That might have been the case once. Unfortunately, Neil also told us that when he worked for the Highways Department, they'd had to move the Crap stone to widen the road. In the process, it was broken up. The boggart that used to haunt it appears to have also gone now as well. Enough. By law at this point, we have to ask you to click like, leave a comment and or subscribe to our channel, and make sure that you're back again next time for the next exciting episode of Lancashire Footnotes.